All right, happy NFL Sunday, guys. Live stream should be starting up now. Here to talk about the Week 16 main slate. NFL winding down, but we still have a couple more weeks of the regular season to go. We have a decent amount to talk about, injury-wise. Browns receivers are very, very thin. Basically, Marvin Hall is the only healthy wide receiver on Draftkings they have. They added a couple practice squad wide receivers to the roster, but before we do that, again, if you guys are new to the channel, what we'll do is we'll take a look at the Vegas odds, and then we'll kind of go position by position. I'll talk cash, we'll talk GPP plays, kind of what I'm thinking, and then we can get to questions at the end. So we have 1 hour, a lot of time, so let's hop into it, guys. Let's start with taking a look at the Vegas odds here. So, just briefly, like kind of scrolling through, you can tell like there's one game that stands out here, and that's Atlanta, Kansas City, right? 54 over under. Chiefs are 11-point favorites. So this game definitely has the makings for a shootout if the Falcons can put up some points. Matt Ryan has been very up and down. But yeah, 54 over under. Chiefs are 11-point favorites. We have Bears. We have Jags. It's a 47 over under. The Bears are 8.5-point favorites. Bengals, Texans are 46 over under. The Texans are 7.5-point favorites. Kind of surprised there. Texans are usually a team that's always playing from behind, but they're playing a far worse team in the Bengals with their third string quarterback. Browns, Jets, it's a 44 over under. The Browns are 7-point favorites. Again, missing basically all their wide receivers. It's going to be interesting to see how that kind of works for the Browns. We have Colts, Steelers of 42.5 over under. The Colts are 1-point favorites, two pretty solid defensive teams. Giants, Ravens of 43.5 over under. The Ravens are 10-point favorites. We have Panthers, Washington of 42 over under. The Panthers are 1-point favorites. Denver, Chargers of 47 over under. The Chargers are 2.5-point favorites. We got a revenge game, Melvin Gordon, if you guys are into that. Rams, Seahawks of 47.5 over under. The Seahawks are 1-point favorites. Eagles, Cowboys of 50 over under. The Eagles are 3-point favorites. And that kind of wraps it up for the main slate. So, again, I'll get to questions at the end, guys. I need this answer right now. Why is nobody talking about Bernard at all? Cash, look, all I see is Bell. No, Gio, you can look to Gio for sure. I think the reason he's not being talked about a ton, Giovanni Bernard, is just because questionable quarterback play, I guess. But the matchup is solid, and Gio played basically most of that game, so he's firmly in play at his price. What's going on, guys? Good morning. Thanks for checking out the live stream. All right, let's start it off with quarterback, and just briefly scrolling through these quarterbacks. There's not a ton of standout plays below the guys at the top. So usually when something like that happens, I kind of gravitate towards those guys at the top and kind of just go for the jam them in approach, just jam in the guys at the top and make it work. And the guy that I'm looking to obviously is Patrick Mahomes at 8.5. I think he's playable in both formats. There's enough value, which we'll go over. A lot of value wide receiver today. That I just think he is a very, very safe option. Sure, you're going to have to pay a premium for him. 8.5K, is a lot of money to pay for a quarterback, but basically a floor of about 20 with upside of mid-30s fancy points. A great matchup. I think Mahomes is firmly in play in both formats. Really, really safe option with upside. Not a lot of bad things to say about Mahomes, obviously, other than the price tag. Now, Lamar Jackson's at 8K. Again, I do prefer Mahomes to Lamar, but Lamar's had 26, 37, and 30 fancy points last 3 games. He's finally picked it up. He's been doing a lot of it on the ground, 94, 124, and 35 yards in the ground. He's had, 4 touchdowns in the ground last 3 games. Passing the ball hasn't been great. He's not throwing the ball a ton, 17, 22 attempts. So Lamar is definitely a viable spend-up option as well. For me, though, personally, I probably feel a little bit more comfortable with Mahomes, but both quarterbacks firmly in play. Don't mind Deshaun Watson here. I love the matchup. It's just what I'm concerned about is they're 7.5-point favorites. The reason Deshaun Watson is always in play is because they're basically always playing from behind. This is a game they should be playing from ahead. So will they rely on the ground game a little bit more? I don't know. But and he's been doing a little bit more on the ground himself too. So Watson is a viable play as well. But for me, again, I feel a little bit more comfortable just getting up to the top with a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Other options, Russell Wilson, the price does look decent, but I don't really like targeting players against that Rams defense. The guy in the mid-range I kind of like is Jalen Hurts, 7K. Price is coming up on him, but, he's running the ball a ton. 106, 63 yards in the ground. He's basically running it like Lamar Jackson. So that makes him firmly in play. And the matchup is good here against Dallas too. Like completion percentage, again, not great, but he is also cheaper than Lamar, and he's basically kind of doing the same thing, right? He's relying heavily on his on the ground game. So Hurts is a guy I do like in the mid-range, probably one of my favorite plays in this kind of range. Big Ben at 6'4". I mean, this Pittsburgh offense has kind of been a mess recently. You can kind of buy low if you want to. I mean, they are kind of an air raid offense, but just more of a contrarian play for me. Baker missing all his wide receivers. The matchup's good, but I feel like they're going to rely on the ground game a little bit more in this one. Now, Jared Goff is someone like below 6K I think you can look to, and like if you want to spend down at quarterback. You know, he is missing Cam Akers, so maybe they rely on his arm a little bit more. Plus, the matchup's good here against Seattle. Seattle is one of the worst defensive teams in the league. In the last 3 weeks for Goff, not bad, but not great. 27, 15, 16 fantasy points. I think if you're like spending down a quarterback, you can consider a guy like Jared Goff because of the matchup. You know, you have a little bit of underpriced guys in like Woods and Kupp that I think are in a good spot. So you can definitely run that Ram stack with like Goff and one of his receivers. I think that's a pretty solid way to go about it. Now, Matt Ryan, this is strictly a GPP play just because the floor with him has been really low. But again, 54 over under. There should be a ton of points scored in this one. He's going to have to throw the ball a ton. Basically, a lock that he's going to be playing from behind. So Matt Ryan is in play for GPPs. But I don't know if I can pull the trigger on him in cash games. So I do like his upside, though, for GPPs when he gets it going. Trubisky, I think, is a fine option, too, at 5'7". You know, not going to really break the slate. But last 4 games, 21, 14, 24, and 14 fantasy points. So averaging, like, high teens and fantasy points the last 4 games. That's not bad for a guy in this price. The matchup is solid, too. He's had 23 and 34 yards in the ground last couple games. So, yeah, Trubisky's a fine, cheap play. I'm probably not going to get to Philip Rivers against Pittsburgh. Andy Dalton against Philly. I don't think we have to do it. You know, I think Bridgewater is just in play because of the price point. Like, I'm not really excited about the matchup, but 5.3K for Teddy Bridgewater does seem a little bit cheap. So I think you can punt with Bridgewater if you want to. But really, again, when you're down here, like, there's no one you're going to feel really confident in. Like, I don't really want to play Gardner Minshew. Like, Haskins is starting for Washington, but I'm probably not going to go there. So really, again, wrapping up quarterback guys, I think, you know, the top guys look the best. And I think it probably makes sense to get to one of those guys because there's enough value on the slate. So Mahomes is my favorite at the top. You know, mid-range, like Jalen Hurts, I think he'll be pretty popular. I think he is in play in both formats. And then cheaper options, I think a guy like Jared Goff is more of like your cashy play. If you're looking for like a GPP play, it's probably a guy like Matt Ryan. I think Bridgewater is in play because of his price as well. So that's kind of my brief overview of quarterbacks. Let's move on to running back real quick, though. Before we do, if you guys do enjoy this content, would ask if you can hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Again, guys, it does help me out a ton. Let's see where we're at right now. We are currently at about 150 viewers. So let's aim by the end of the live stream to get to, let's aim for 75 likes if we can do that. So again, I appreciate you guys coming, spending your Sunday morning with me. And if you guys are NBA fans, I'll be live later tonight. So you get 2 live streams from me today with NFL, with NBA later. NBA slate is shaping up to be a really nice one. I'm pretty excited about it at least. So yeah, I'll have, again, I'll be live for 2 slates today. All right, let's talk about running back. And running back is where I think this slate is going to be won. In my opinion, there is no standout play at running back. Like usually we have like, you know, a Dalvin Cook in a good matchup or someone in the mid-range that is really underpriced. There's just not a lot that stands out to me, which makes it a little tricky. So let's start with, again, McCaffrey. Don't expect him to play. Did he already get ruled out? I think, is this the later game? This is a later game, but I do not expect him to play. Nick Chubb's at 7.8K. So matchup is good against the Jets. They're missing all their wide receivers. You would think they're probably going to rely on the ground game a little bit more if they can. We know already Cleveland is a run-first team, so Chubb is a guy that I do like for GPPs. Now, can I go there in cash games? I don't know, because just not a ton of involvement in the passing game, and he's kind of got lucky with the touchdown variance, right? With 5 touchdowns in the last 4 games, a touchdown in every single game. We can't always expect a touchdown from him. So, like, take away a touchdown last week, he has 8 fantasy points. Take away a touchdown 3 weeks ago, he has, 11 fantasy points. So, you know, there is that risk if he doesn't get in the end zone, he might not pay off his salary. But again, on the other hand, they're probably going to rely on the ground game even more, and this is a game they should be playing from ahead. So I do like Chubb for GPPs. He has been they're more talented back this year than a guy like Kareem Hunt. So, and you know, he's had games over 100 yards. He can definitely get that 100-yard bonus. I think Nick Chubb firmly in play in GPPs, like his upside. Now, A couple plays I think you can go to in both formats in cash and GPP are Montgomery and Austin Eckler. And the reason being is these guys are going to be out the majority of the game. Both are involved in the passing game. The matchup for David Montgomery is fantastic here against the Jags. And he had 32 carries. Like, I was complaining, like, why are they not giving David Montgomery more work? Like, he's running the ball great. And they gave him 32 carries that last game against the Vikings. So, like, he has that upside to get a ton of carries. Again, he's involved in the passing game. Not a ton of competition for touches. Like, they'll throw Cordell Patterson out there a little bit. But I know 7-7 feels like a lot to pay for Montgomery, but I think he's firmly in play here at the top. Matchup plus the fact that out the majority of the game, plus involved in the passing game, I do like David Montgomery, and I also like Austin Eckler at 7-6. Got to monitor Keenan Allen's status. Keenan Allen might not play. If he misses, I think that's a slight boost to Eckler. Now, they kind of took it easy on him that last game, but haven't heard anything of limitations for this game, so I expect kind of the normal 60 to 70% of the touches or the snaps for Austin Eckler. Again, very, very much involved in the passing game, so I think he is someone you can look to in both formats as well. So Eckler, Montgomery, I think playable in both cash and GPP. Now, Jonathan Taylor, I think he's more suited for GPPs. He is involved in the passing game. He's going to be getting a lot more touches. Matchup not necessarily the best against Pittsburgh. And Hines will still get some carries, so I would put him more in the category of GPPs. Now, I still like his upside. Again, he's been running the ball great. 90, 91, 150, 83 yards in the ground. So I do like Taylor for GPPs. I don't know if I go there in cash games, though. Miles Sanders at 7K. So, touches for him haven't been amazing, to be honest. Like 10, 14, 17 carries. Not great. He is a little bit involved in the passing game. I think he's like an okay play in this range. I'm not like super, super excited about Miles Sanders, but the matchup is good. I think he's fine. See, James Robinson's out, so we'll talk about the backup running backs here in Ozigbo and Dare Ogunbowale. We don't really have confirmation who's going to start, but both those guys are min-price, and we'll get to those guys at the end here. Zeke Elliott is expected to play. So with him being expected to play, kind of just takes the Dallas running backs out of play for me, because I don't think Zeke's going to get a full workload, but then him and Pollard probably split it, and that kind of just hurts each other's upside. So, yeah, if Zeke plays, it takes both Dallas running backs out of play for me. If Zeke misses, then I think Tony Pollard is actually a pretty solid play here in the mid-range. But expect Zeke to play. Antonio Gibson at 6'6", this is kind of the same thing. He's questionable but expected to play. Is he going to get the full workload? I'm not sure. Again, that kind of takes McKissick out of play if Antonio Gibson does play. So, yeah, again, Washington running backs would kind of be out of play for me if Gibson plays. Mike Davis, 6.5K. Matchup against Washington, not necessarily the best, but no Christian McCaffrey. He should be out there, a good amount of the game. Carries for him, 15, 11, 14. He's involved in the pass game. He's not like a true bell cow back. Like, they've been working in some backup running backs, but I think he's someone you can look to for some salary relief. Again, a little bit involved in the passing game as well. Talked about Pollard, talked about McKissick. Again, if Zeke and Gibson play, I'm probably not going to get to either of them. I don't really want to play Carson against the Rams. I'll pass. Again, Cam Akers is out, so we'll talk about Henderson and Malcolm Brown for value. I think both guys firmly in play. Now, J.K. Dobbins is at 6.2K. The issue I have with J.K. Dobbins is the same issue I have with Nick Chubb. He's dependent on touchdowns. He's had a touchdown in every single game the last 4 games. Take away a touchdown basically in all these weeks, and he's like he's single-digit fantasy points, like besides this game against Tennessee. So, it's not great when you have to rely on touchdowns to get you there. Plus, Baltimore just does not pass the ball. So he's not really going to be involved in the passing game. He is their most talented back, but they still have Gus Edwards they'll give carries to. So it's just, right? And Lamar will keep himself a lot. He's a GPP play. He's not out of play, but again, kind of reliant on the touchdowns. Now, David Johnson's a 6-1. He had 11 catches and 11 targets. Don't expect that again, but this is a game they should be playing from behind. Or should be playing from ahead, sorry. The matchup's solid here against the Bengals. You could see maybe 15 to 20 carries for David Johnson. Again, he is a bit involved in the passing game as well. So I think he's someone kind of in the mid-range that is in play in both formats. Again, like the matchup, like the fact that he's involved in the passing game. I think he's a fair play there. Kareem Hunt is below 6K at 5'9". There's been some questions about will they line him up in the slot. I'm not convinced they do that with them being really thin at wide receiver. The issue I have with Kareem Hunt is the carries have been going down. 6, 7 carries last couple of weeks. He is involved in the passing game, but will the Browns have to pass a ton in this one? I'm not convinced, right? They should be playing from ahead. So, yeah, you're getting a discount off him from Chubb, but I think he's just more suited as a GPP play for me. Let's see, other options. So, yeah, James Conner at 5'8", I don't think I can do it. Pittsburgh's a team that's not been run the ball a ton. So, I mean, the price is fine, but I don't know if I don't trust Pittsburgh and their running game right now. They're not run the ball. Now, Le'Veon Bell's at 5'8", so no Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He should kind of be their lead back. Now, lead back for the Chiefs actually hasn't been like super productive this year just because they don't run the ball a ton. What do I expect from Le'Veon? I would say probably somewhere between 10 to 15 carries and maybe like 3 to 5 targets. And the matchup's good. Again, a little upside for a little bit more because of the matchup. So Le'Veon is a fine play. I think might be a little over-owned. But again, like the matchup, like the fact that he should be out there a decent amount of the game, will be involved in the pass game as well. So Le'Veon is a play I'm looking to in the mid-range. I think he's playable in both formats. Gallman against Baltimore, I'm probably going to look elsewhere. Now, Melvin Gordon at 5'6", I do like. There's no Philip Lindsay. He should be their bell cow back. He was kind of splitting touches with Lindsay, this year. But carry should go up for him. It's a revenge game narrative. He is a bit involved in the pass game. Sure, Denver's offense is not great, but I do like Melvin Gordon in the mid-range. I think he's a pretty safe play. Definitely playable in both formats. All right, let's scroll down the list here a bit for running back. Now, Giovanni Bernard, again, someone asked me about him at the beginning of the show. He had 25 carries the last game. Now, are we going to get that again? Probably not, but he was basically their bell cow back after getting benched the previous game. Matchup is good here against Houston. He's below 5K. He is involved in the passing game. It's just, do you trust the Cincinnati offense to move the ball? I don't know, right? Playing with a third-string quarterback, there's some risk involved here. But, yeah, I think Gio can definitely get us here at 4.8K. So don't rule him out. I think he is playable. I think you could look to him in both formats, to be honest, just because of the price. Now, don't play Todd Gurley. He got benched. I don't really want to play any of the Atlanta running backs. I don't think they're going to run the ball a ton. They should be playing from behind. Now we get to kind of the cheapies. So let's talk about the Rams guys first. And then we can get to the Jags, and then we can move on. So I do want to, again, Rams, no Cam Akers. So it's going to be Henderson. It's going to be Malcolm Brown. Both will be heavily involved. I think it's going to be a pretty even split. Now, like, do I have a super strong take here? Not really. I think Henderson probably more of the early down guy, and Malcolm Brown more of the third down back. Like, he's been early in the year, he was kind of their passing down back, so that would be my guess. But I think both will get carries, both will get some targets as well. So, and they're both pretty cheap in a good matchup. So I think both guys are firmly in play. The issue is trying to nail down which one's going to be, right? So I think you can go here. Would I go here in cash? I don't know if I would do it in cash games, but for GPPs, definitely, right? And if you guess right, and like they go with, one back more like kind of the bell cow back, then you're going to be in really, really good shape. Again, my guess, I think they're going to be a pretty even split. And again, trying to nail down which one it's going to be is a little bit more difficult. But both are cheap, 4, 5, and 4K respectively. I have interest in both. The issue is just, again, trying to nail down which running back it's going to be that's going to have the big game. And then finally, okay, let's talk about the Jags, and then we can move on to wide receiver. So let's go to Jacksonville. Now, the matchup here against Chicago is not the best, but both running backs are min-price. Ozigbo and Ogunbowale. We don't know like who is going to be more of their lead back, but both are min-price. Both are decent pass-catching backs, so I think both guys are firmly in play here. But again, the same thing I'll say about those Rams running backs is which one is it going to be? We don't have clarity on that yet. So both these guys more suited for GPPs. I like the matchup better for the Rams backs. Like for me, I think if I'm going to take a shot in one of these cheap backs, I would rather take a shot in either Henderson or Brown. I just like the matchup better for them. I have a little more faith in that Rams offense than I do in this Jags offense going up against the Bears. So not saying Ogunbowale and Ozigbo are out of play, but I would probably feel a little bit better about targeting one of those Rams backs. And I think that's it for running back. Let me just scroll through one more time. I don't think there's anyone else I would really consider here. Ito Smith, again, they said they're going to Ito Smith is the lead runner, but how valuable is that, right? I don't think they're going to be run the ball a ton, so sure, you can throw them in the player pool, but I don't expect the Falcons to be running a lot, so I'm not super interested there. But all right, let's move on to wide receiver guys. Again, I'll get to questions at the end. We're currently already at about 230 viewers, 50 likes. Again, guys, let's try to aim for 75 likes. I would greatly appreciate that. So wide receiver, we have Tyreek Hill at 9K. The same thing I'll say about Mahomes and Kelsey. It's just there's not a lot of standout plays in the mid-range, and there's a decent amount of value that I think it kind of makes sense to try to get some of these Chiefs into your lineup if you can. Now, sure, all of them are priced up. Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey are all priced up, but hard to ignore the matchup, plus how dynamic this offense is. All these Chiefs targets are firmly in play at the top. Tyreek Hill's upside is through the roof. He's going to be getting targeted a ton, so I do like him a good amount there at the top. I also mentioned Calvin Ridley, and if you are going like the Chiefs stack, I think the guy I run it back with is Ridley. Now, sure, that's expensive, right? If you go Mahomes and either Hill or Kelsey and run it back with Ridley, you're not going to have a ton left over, but again, we'll go over value. I think there is enough value to do that, and full disclosure, I think that's what I'm going to do. Now, that'll be somewhat popular, I think, this game is part of like a game stack, but Ridley, 10, 12, 14 targets. They're most likely going to be playing from behind. No Julio Jones. Again, in the 2 games that Julio Jones has missed, 29 and 35 fantasy points. People are making the argument that, Calvin Ridley needs Julio Jones to be productive. That's just not true, right? 30 and 35 fantasy points. Obviously, that is not true. So Ridley is a guy at the top I think is a nice bring back if you do want to bring it back with someone in that Chiefs stack. Now, the Seattle receivers are a little underpriced, but the matchup against the Rams, I'm probably going to look elsewhere. Like DK Metcalf, a very, very talented receiver. You could look to him in GPPs. He's going to be low on, but I'm not going to do it. Allen Robinson at 7.7K. I like the matchup for him. He got banged up a little bit, but he's active. Dealing with the hamstring injury, there's a little bit of risk, right? Because hamstring injury is not great for a wide receiver. So that does make me feel a little bit uneasy. Maybe I'll put him more suited in the GPP category because just, dealing with the hamstring injury does worry me a bit. But again, he's clearly the number 1 wide receiver, has a ton of upside, and the matchup is good. Now, Keenan Allen, this is something to monitor. Legit game time decision. So we'll see. They very limited him that last game. I don't know if he's going to get full run either way. So I think this week I'm probably going to look elsewhere from Keenan Allen, even if he does play. If he misses, that's a boost to a guy like Jalen Guyton. We'll talk about Mike Williams, who will probably get targeted a good amount more. And then, again, we have no Hunter Henry. So we'll talk about Donald Parham, the XFL product, who I think is actually a pretty nice punt play at tight end. So, yeah, that's really it for Keenan Allen. The Rams receivers, Woods and Kupp, I think are playable in both formats, 7K and 6.6K respectively. Again, with them missing Cam Akers, you can make the argument that they maybe throw the ball a bit more. Woods targets 12, 11, 8, 8. Cooper Kupp's targets, again, a little more up and down, but he's had some big, 13 targets, 20 targets. These guys should be targeted a good amount. The matchup's good. I like them in both formats. In cash and GPP, Woods, Cooper Kupp. Again, we have Jared Goff under 6K, so if you want to play a cash game lineup with Jared Goff, I think it makes sense to try to get to either Woods or Kupp. You don't have to, but again, that's I think a pretty safe way to go about it. Now, the Browns receivers, we'll get to them, but basically missing every single wide receiver. The only healthy receiver they have on DraftKings is Marvin Hall, who I think is actually firmly in play at min price. No Julio Jones, we went over that. Terry McLaurin, doubtful. Do not expect him to go. We'll talk about Cam Sims. I think actually makes for a pretty nice value play. I think probably Steven Sims as well. Both guys should be involved as, the number 1 and number 2 wide receivers. Again, we mentioned the Seattle receivers, not super interested there. The Pittsburgh receivers, Deontay, Juju, and Claypool are all in play. They always seem to be hovering in this 6K range. Now, Deontay's the guy that has the most upside. When playing well, he is their most talented receiver. But he also has been struggling with dropping the ball. He got benched a couple of games ago, so there is some risk involved. But Deontay's the guy that they always seem to look to the most. I think he's probably my preferred target on the Pittsburgh Steelers side. Cooks, I think, is a nice play at 6'2". Matchup's good. He is their number 1 wide receiver with no Will Fuller. Game log wise, recently, hasn't been great, but not terrible either. Kind of just consistent, 12, 13, 12, 12 basically. So he's not killing you, but he's not really winning you any GPPs if you're looking at the last 4 weeks. But he does have that big play upside. He's still a speedy wide receiver. Again, the matchup's good here. So I think Cooks is a pretty nice play in the mid-range. Definitely playable in both formats. The Carolina receivers with DJ Moore, with Robbie Anderson, with Curtis Samuel. I think my preferred target, or the safest one, is probably Samuel because he's the cheapest. Plus, again, he's playing out of the slot, and the fact that he will get some carries as well. So I think Samuel is probably your safer target. I think the guy with the most upside at the moment is DJ Moore. He's finally coming on. Again, it's been the Robbie Anderson show early in the year, but 11, 9, 8 targets, 100 yards in 2 of the last 3 games. Moore is finally coming on. So I think I'd rank him. Again, for safety, it's probably Samuel. For upside, it's probably Moore. And then Robbie Anderson probably is the lower owned guy, or the lowest owned guy of the bunch. The Baltimore wide receivers, I just don't trust the passing game. So I'm not looking to any Baltimore targets here on this slate. Amari Cooper's at 5'7". Did not have a good week last week. Two catches and 3 targets, but still a very talented receiver. He's priced below 6K. I think this is the second highest over under the slate. And yeah, Andy Dalton's not like a terrible quarterback. So I think Amari is an interesting play here in the mid-range. I don't know if he's going to be super popular. Still possesses some upside. I do kind of like the price there. TY against Pittsburgh. This is, I think, where I get off. Kiki Cutie at 5'4". I would rather just get to Cooks for a little bit more. With CD at 5'3", again, playing out of slot, I think he's a viable play as well. I think the upside might be a little bit higher with Cooper for a little bit more, though. Russell Gage at 5'1", so he'll be playing out of the slot. Again, they should be playing from behind 8, 7, and 10 targets. I think, if you want to bring back and you can't get to Calvin Ridley, probably Russell Gage is the guy for me. Just because they're going to have to be airing it out a ton here. And playing out of the slot, I think he makes for a nice play in the mid-range. So, yeah, Russell Gage is definitely someone I'm looking to here if you want to bring it back with someone. If you're going to that cheese stack and you want to bring it back with someone you can't get to Ridley, I think Gage would be the guy. Now, Sammy Watkins then goes overlooked in the slate. 7, 6, 3, 6 targets, not great, but he's still out the majority of the game. And he's a part of this Chiefs offense. Everyone's going to gravitate towards Hill and Kelsey. Don't completely ignore Watkins. He still has some upside. Now, it seems like he'll maybe have like 1 or 2 big games a year, and that's about it. So if you play him, you got to hope for one of those big games, but the upside is still there. It's just he's not very consistent. Again, we'll get to the Cleveland wide receivers. No Tyler Boyd. Like T. Higgins should be the number 1 wide receiver, but this is just a tricky one because I like the matchup a lot. Do I trust the Bengals offense? Not necessarily. So it's a little bit tricky here, but again, do like the matchup there for Higgins. I don't trust any of the Philly wide receivers. The only target I trust is Dallas Goedert as a tight end because the wide receivers are just like rotating. Like no one's playing more than like half the game. So I don't want to do it. I don't trust any of the Philly pass catchers. Now Mike Williams at 4 or 5, more of a boomer bust play. More viable, especially if Keenan Allen is out, because he would kind of be their number 1 target with no Hunter Henry too. But does have a low floor, and this guy is always dealing with injuries. So, can you go there in cash? I don't know, right? He's got the boomer bust kind of nature. So I do like his upside for GPPs. I think Chad Hansen's actually a decent value play at 4-4. He's playing the Will Fuller role. Like he's out there a good amount of the game. Obviously not as talented, but 7-7-3 targets. Again, this Houston team is a team that likes to air it out. Matchup solid. He's out the majority of the game. I think he's a fine value play. All the Jets receivers, with Crowder, with Perriman, with Mims, they're fine value plays. Cleveland does struggle to defend the pass. They're all underpriced, but are you ever going to feel comfortable playing any Jets guys? Probably not. Let's see. Other wide receivers, like Darnell Mooney's at 4K. He's still out there a good amount of the game. The matchup's good. I think he's a decent punt play. And then we get to like the really cheap guys. So I think a guy like Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler are interesting here. Like Judy's has not been good recently. 0, 1, 6, 2 fantasy points. But I think he's still a very talented wide receiver. He's out the majority of the game. Him, KJ Hamler are interesting buy low candidates here because Jerry Jeudy was a guy that was like mid 5Ks like, a month ago? So, again, he's had some big games. You're getting him at 3.7 now. I think, again, he's an interesting buy low candidate here. Other options. All right, so let's, again, KJ Hamler's at 3.2. He'll play out of the slot. Guyton's a guy that if Keenan Allen misses, he would be firmly in play for value here. He's been targeted a decent amount, already playing a good amount of the game. Would get a slight boost there if Allen is out. And now let's talk about the Cleveland wide receivers. So, again, no Jarvis, no Higgins, no DPJ, no Hodge, everyone else on the IR. So, Marvin Hall is, again, the de facto number 1 wide receiver for the Browns. Now, how much are they going to pass is a little bit more in question, but he's the only Browns wide receiver they have on Draftkings. And, he should be their number 1 wide receiver. It's weird to say, but he's going to be their number 1 wide receiver against the Jets at min price. I think he's going to be somewhat popular today, but it's hard to get away from him. I think he's firmly in play for value. Not a must play, but definitely if you're going more of that stars and scrubs build, I think he is a guy that you can for sure look to. And then I want to talk about the Washington wide receivers. So definitely some value here as well. McLaurin not expected to play. Cam Sims, I like at 3.3. He was already playing basically the entire game. 2 of the last 3 games, 9, 8 targets. With them missing their top target, he should get some more looks. I like the matchup here. Some questionable quarterback play, sure, but Cam Sims, 3.3K, I think does look for like a pretty nice value play. Now, Who fills in for the number 2 role? My guess would be Steven Sims, but I'm not like fully confident in that. He is min price. I mean, they do have a couple other guys have right. Maybe they activate Dontrell Inman, but yeah, Cam Sims is the guy that I have the most confidence in for Washington because he was already playing a majority of the game. So he's the guy I think I look to for value there on the Washington side. But let's see. Other options, a wide receiver, I think that's it. And possibly things could open up. I don't trust Atlanta wide receivers. They just kind of rotate in like the third guy. I wouldn't take a shot on any of those guys. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else. I don't think so. So, yeah, that's really it for wide receiver guys. Let's move on to tight end. Tight end, pretty weak. So with a weak position, you have Travis Kelce against the Falcons. Sure, he's priced up, but I think he makes for a really good play if you can get to him. 12, 10, 12 targets, 30, 22 fantasy points. Man, tight end is a very weak position, so I like Kelce. It's just a matter of, do you have the salary to get to him to feel comfortable? Mark Andrews is a guy I will be avoiding. Baltimore just not throwing the ball a ton. I think he had a decent game last time out, but I don't think I'm going to do it. I would rather spend down a little bit more on some other tight ends. One of those guys being Logan Thomas at 4.9. Now, if I'm not playing Travis Kelce, I think I'm either looking to Logan Thomas, maybe the guy Dallas Goedert, or completely punt the position with Donald Parham with no Hunter Henry. So Logan Thomas, no Terry McLaurin, had 15 targets the last game. We're probably not going to get that again, but should be more looks for him to go around. He's a very talented, tight end. I think he is firmly in play here at 4.9K. Don't mind Noah Fant either. I think I would prefer Logan Thomas at a similar price. Again, Hunter Henry, not expected to go. So we'll talk about Donald Parham, XFL standout, who I think is actually a pretty nice punt play at the tight end position. Other options at tight end. So Dallas Goedert, kind of more as a cheaper tight end. He's the one target for Philly I have confidence in because he's playing a majority of the game. 10, 7, 6, 8 targets. Matchup's good. I do like Dallas Goedert for value. Don't mind Hayden Hurst. Again, no Julio Jones. Should be out there a good amount of the game. I think he's an okay value play. And then I'll mention Zach Ertz too. Like the snaps are going up for him. He had 7 targets the last game, only 2 catches. I think Goddard at this point in his career is more talented than Ertz, but Goddard will probably be more popular if you want to get contrarian. You can take a shot on a guy like Zach Ertz. And then, yeah, last guy I'll mention is Donald Parham. So he's at min price. We'll start a tight end if Hunter Henry isn't removed. And it's not looking like Hunter Henry will be removed. So I think Donald Parham is a guy that is definitely viable. He's a good pass-catching tight end. I mean, if you guys watch XFL, he was kind of a standout. And, even when Hunter Henry's been healthy, they've had some plays for him down in the red zone. I think he's if you punt at tight end, he's probably the guy I look to. All right, guys, closing in at 300 views, 72 likes. I appreciate all the support. Thank you. Let's finish up with defense, and then we can get to questions at the end. So, defense is always tricky. It's such a high variance position. I think if you have the salary to get to these defenses at the top, then they're good plays. But like 4K for the Ravens, you're going to have to pay a premium for them. They're an aggressive defense, which I do like, right? They go for a lot of sacks. The Browns defense, any defense against the Jets are always in play. So, sure, Browns defense definitely viable. Bears are a solid defense at 3.6, but again, you're kind of have to pay premium for them. Other options at defense, I'm probably not going to go the Chiefs at that price. Let's see, more kind of in the mid-range. Like Washington's a pretty talented defense. They're at 3K. I think there's someone in the mid or a defense in the mid-range that I'm looking to. Like the Rams are a very talented defense, but a little uneasy targeting them against the Seahawks offense. Honestly, there's no real standout defense to me. Like if you want a punt defense, there's a couple cheap defenses I think you could look to, like the Jets defense, just because Cleveland's missing all their wide receivers. They're at 2K. They actually haven't been terrible. If you look at the game logs, they had the one negative fantasy point game against the Seahawks, but that was a pretty talented Seahawks offense. Against the Rams, 8 fantasy points. Against the Raiders, 5 fantasy points. Against Miami, 9 fantasy points. They've actually been okay. So, sure, there's some risk involved, but they're very, very cheap. Even the Jags, the Jags are not a good defense either. But Bears offense is not amazing. So, yeah, I think you can punt with one of these defenses. You're not going to feel good. I think my real breakdown is just go with what works with your lineup. Again, I don't have a super strong take here in defense. Usually there's a punt defense that I really like, or a defense in the mid-range I think is good. But honestly, there's not really one defense I think that really stands out. So I think go with what works with your lineup. And that's really what I got, guys. So We got a little over 20 minutes until lock. Let's get to some questions. Russell Wilson or Ben Roethlisberger? So, I don't really want to play either. I think I'll go Russell Wilson, though, even though matchup not necessarily the best. I trust Russell Wilson a lot more than I do Big Ben at the moment. Hill or Kelsey, best play, period. I mean, I think they're two of the better plays at the slate. Jets, a great call. It's just kind of a price thing. Like, I don't feel good about playing the Jets defense at all, but 2K. What I'm hoping for if I play the Jets is like 4 or 5. I'm just hoping they don't give me negative fantasy points. Anybody in Jameson? I think Jameson Crowder is an interesting play. Out of the slot, 4.5K. All the Jets receivers are viable. Yeah, I'm fine with Jameson Crowder. Since he's my punt defense, Texans hand out sacks. Yeah, that's true. The Texans O-line is pretty bad, so you can make definitely an argument for Cincy. Browns wide receiver, yeah, it's only Marvin Hall is the only one on the slate. So he's at min price. He's going to be somewhat popular. Definitely not a must play, but he should be their number one wide receiver. Doesn't need a ton to pay off his salary. Who is a 3,700 player? Like, what do you mean? Who's someone you can look to in that range? Is that what you mean? Let me scroll down. 3,700. I think, again, Jerry Jeudy is an interesting buy low here. He's really, really cheap. I know Denver's offense has been struggling, but don't mind him. I think Dallas Goedert is a tight end I like kind of in this range. And then you could like either punt it with like Cam Sims or go all the way down to like Marvin Hall. Montgomery or Eckler, that's really close. That's basic coin for me. I'll go Montgomery, but it's not a strong take. No premium stream today. Not for NFL. That's only for NBA. I'll do a premium stream every slate. Rieger, Mooney, or Gallup. Hurts is only QB I'm thinking. Rieger. Again, I don't really want to play those Philadelphia wide receivers, but of those options, I guess I'll go Rieger. What do you think of A.J. Brown? A.J. Brown's not on the slate, right? Doesn't Tennessee play later tonight? Or are they the Monday night game? I mean, hold on. Who are they playing? I'm pretty sure they're one of the primetime games. Titans, where are they? They play the Packers tonight. Okay, so, yeah, in that game, obviously, like that looks good. Guyton or Cam Sims, depends on the status of Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen is out. I might go Guyton. Just because I feel a little bit more comfortable with the Chargers offense. But if Keenan Allen's in, then maybe I look Cam Sims. Both firmly in play. Crowder in play, yes. He's cheap. Harrison Bryant season. So I didn't mention him. They could definitely line up some more. That's a good point. Like, they could line up some tight ends more. What's his price? So they have Hooper. We have Harrison Bryant. We have Njoku. They could run a lot more 2 tight end sets here with them being thin at wide receiver. You can punt with one of these guys. It's risky because they have 3 healthy tight ends, but yeah, Montgomery or Eckler, again, it's a coin. I'll go Montgomery, but it's not a strong take. What do you think about Ty Burton? Thanks a lot. Oh, Trey Burton? Do you mean Trey Burton at tight end? Trey Burton's a 2.7. I'm guessing that's what you mean. Not really for me. Colts just utilize too many tight ends, and matchup's not the best, but let's see. Okay, yeah, I get that going for Watkins. You can differentiate yourself for sure. Who is going to tell Marvin Hall or Cam Sims? So those are 2, I think, of the better like punt wide receivers. You have those 2. You have Guyton. If I had to pick, I'll go Marvin Hall, but that's basic coin for me there too. Logan Thomas or Parham in the flex. So if you can get to Logan Thomas. With no McLaurin, he should get a good amount of targets. But if you need someone super, super cheap, I don't mind punting with Parham. Phillip Rivers GPP play, you can go to him in GPPs. It's just, I never really play Phillip Rivers, but he actually has not been bad. He hasn't. 18, 19, 17 fantasy points. The matchup is not great. So not really someone I'm looking to. Like, I would rather get to those other quarterbacks in that range. Frank Gore, not for me. I don't really play the Jets running backs. Crowder or Higgins, that's a tough one. Both are playing with some questionable quarterbacks. I'll go Higgins. I like the matchup a little bit better, but yeah. What do you guys think of Gibson? So yeah, Gibson looking like he'll play. The only issue I have with Gibson is coming back from the injury. Is he going to kind of get his normal workload? So a little uneasy feeling there. More suited for GPPs. Is Mahomes safe? Yes. Yeah, of course. I'd go Higgins. Yeah, that's close. I think I'd go Higgins too. How do you feel about Curtis Samuel? He's like I think the safest Panthers wide receiver because he plays out of the slot. He'll get some carries. He's been targeted a good amount. Now, if you're going for upside, it's probably DJ Moore, but I think Samuel below 5K is not going to kill you. I think he's someone you can look to in both formats. You like Harrison Bryant and Njoku. They're fine options. Both are cheap, min price at tight end. They probably line up wide a little bit more. I'm fine with either of them. For me, I probably feel a little bit more comfortable punting with Donald Parham because there's not really competition for him. Whereas the Browns, they have 3 tight ends they'll use. Okay, so we went over A.J. Brown again in the late slate. I think he's obviously firmly in play. Haven't really looked at his price, but matchup against the Packers is good. So, yeah. Crowder Higgins is out, LOL. T. Higgins is out. Did that just happen? Or did that just get announced? Yeah, oh no, we're talking about T. Higgins, not Rashard Higgins. Yeah, this is T. Higgins. Yeah, probably should put the first name in there if the last name, if they have 2 guys with Higgins. But yeah, talking about T. Higgins. I'm assuming he's talking about T. Higgins. Is Kareem Hunt a better play than Chubb today because of ability to catch? If I'm going to play one of those Browns running backs, I think I would just pay up for Chubb. The snaps on Hunt have been going down. He is involved in the passing game. Will he line up wide a little bit more with them being really thin at wide receiver? Maybe. But I would rather get to Chubb. Gore, not for me. Austin Hooper, decent play today. Are we thinking Browns run heavy all day? Yeah, I think the Browns, do rely on the ground game a little bit more. And again, I think they do run 2 tight ends a little bit more too as well. What about running Hurts or a cheap quarterback with Hill and Kelsey? I like that. I do. We can definitely do that. Kelsey or Hill for cash. I'll go Kelsey. I think Kelsey has a slightly higher floor. If you're going for the upside, I think it's Tyreek Hill. Both have huge upside, but Hill is a guy that can go for like 40, whereas Kelsey, I think, has a little bit of a higher floor. How do you feel about Higbee this week? I think he's solid, but not super excited about it. Let's see. I kind of really like Drew Lock today, DK. I just never feel comfortable really playing Drew Lock. You could take a shot there. Again, their receivers are really underpriced in Judy and Hamler. So, am I going to do it? No, but it's a risky play. Could pay off. Yes, they play Green Bay. Logan Thomas or Goddard. So, if you can get to Logan Thomas. Thank you, bro. Hope I won. Of course, man. Any Gus Edwards love? Just a GPP play. Same thing I'll say about J.K. Dobbins is he's kind of reliant on touchdowns. If Gus Edwards doesn't get a touchdown, most likely not going to get there. So, yeah. Marvin Hall, Cam Sims. Again, that's basic coin flip for me. I'll go Hall, but not a super strong take. Mike Williams or T. Higgins. Depends on Keenan Allen news. If Keenan Allen is out, I think I go Mike Williams. But again, he's got the boomer bust nature, and he's always injured. So, it's still, not something I do in cash, probably. But yeah, Mike Williams does have the big play upside. Probably gets targeted a bit more if Keenan Allen is out. Do you like McCole Hardman? You can take a dart throw on him. What's his price? I didn't talk about him. He is at 3.1. It's just he did have 9 targets the last game, but he doesn't play a ton. He's a speedster. You can throw him in that mix with those other cheap wide receivers. Logan Thomas or Gio for the flex. I think it's still Logan Thomas for me. What is this slate? This main slate you like? Okay, I already went over that. Ridley and Ertz or Kelsey and Cam Sims in cash? I'll go with Kelsey and Cam Sims. Play Hooper, tight end. You can definitely do it. I think I prefer some other tight ends, but yeah, Hooper is solid. You like McCole? Okay, right over McCole Hardman. Favorite running back 6,500 and below. So let's see. Yeah, so this again, with Pollard, McKissick, kind of become out of play, assuming Zeke and Gibson play. And it's looking like they do play, so not super excited about them. Davis is at 6'5", but he's not going to get a ton of work. I think for me, it would probably be either Mike Davis or David Johnson. I do like the matchup for David Johnson. They're 7.5-point favorites. They probably rely on the ground game a little bit more, so maybe David Johnson for me. Melvin Gordon too. Yeah, I do like Melvin Gordon. I think he is one of the better plays at that price range. No competition with touches for Philip Lindsay, so he should get kind of bell cow work. Revenge game narrative. He's involved in the passing game. Melvin Gordon is a really solid play in that range. Mooney or Sammy Watkins for me. Hansen for cash, you can do it. He is a little pricier now. Eifert, punt tight end. I would rather punt with Parm. Marvin Hall, Cleveland, yes. I think you can do it just because he's the de facto number one wide receiver and he's mid-price. Johnson, Bell, or Gordon. I'll go Melvin Gordon there. Higgins, Crowder, or Chad Hansen in the flex. That's also a tough one. Quarterback play, I feel the best about Chad Hansen because he's got Deshaun Watson as quarterback. So I guess it's Chad Hansen there just because I'm the most confident in Deshaun Watson. Like Higgins, Crowder, probably slightly more talented wide receivers, but I feel better about Deshaun Watson as Chad Hansen's quarterback. How does Mahomes, Tyreek, Marvin Hall, Cam Sims, Kelsey, Eckler, Melvin Gordon, Parm? Yeah, that's kind of similar to the approach that I'm going with. You're playing both Hill and Kelsey. What I'm doing is I'm using Calvin Ridley as a bring back. But yeah, it's Nick Chubb's birthday. I did not know that. Chubb narrative, birthday narrative. Yeah, sure. Goddard or Hooper, close. The reason I'll go Goddard is because Hooper, they do have a couple other tight ends. I mean, Goddard, they have Ertz too, but I'll still go Goddard there. I'm seriously thinking Matt in cash. Man, I don't know if I can do Matt Ryan in cash. He has such a low floor. Just know that. I mean, they should be playing from behind. He should have to air it out a ton. So, should be good game script for him. I never feel good about playing him in cash games. Best value running back in DK. I think it's one of the Rams running backs. Either Henderson or Brown. If I'm punting at running back, I would take a shot on one of them. Rams passing stack, yeah. Goff's under 6K, good matchup. I think Woods and Kupp are playable in both formats. I like that. Matt Ryan in cash lets you get up to Ridley and the running backs. Yeah, I mean, again, you can do it. I'm just warning you. Like Matt Ryan does have a low floor, I was on Trubisky, but I'm playing Montgomery, so I don't want to play Mitch. Yeah. Again, someone asked me Montgomery versus Eckler. That's such a close one. I think both are pretty similar plays. Both should be out there a good amount of the game. Both involved in the passing game. Eckler does get a boost if Keenan Allen is out, but got to monitor that. DFS and DK, Henry, Hardman, or Melvin and Woods. Wait, is there another Henry? Or are we talking about Derrick Henry? Are you talking about like the all-day slate? Derrick Henry and Mecole Hardman or Melvin and Woods? I think I would go Melvin and Woods there. Keenan Allen is out. Did that news just come out? Keenan Allen news? Let's see. I saw there's still a chance he could play. I don't know if we have confirmation on that yet, but Dave Montgomery's 35% owned. Wowzers. Not a must play. Not a must play at all. The only reason I think he's getting that ownership is because running back is pretty weak. Well, in doubt. Okay, yeah, in doubt. So, yes, again, if Keenan Allen is out, I think Guyton is right in that range of good punt wide receivers. Guyton, Sims, Marvin Hall. That's the range of punt wide receivers. Hansen or Crowder for the flex. Again, Crowder's more talented, but I'm more comfortable with Deshaun Watson as Hansen's quarterback. So I'll go Hansen. Yeah, 35 is a lot. It is. So that does worry me a bit with Montgomery's ownership. Thoughts on Millie Maker lineup? Let's see. Hurts, Montgomery, Gordon, Deontay Johnson, Gage, Cam Sims, Kelsey, Hooper. I like it. Goddard or Hooper? It's going to be Goddard for me. Highest on running back in fan slaps. Okay, thanks, brother. Of course. Goddard or Henderson for cash? Again, the Rams, I don't know if I play the Rams running backs in cash. Just because they're going to split the duties. I don't know. I guess Goddard. Hansen or Rieger? Yeah, I'm not really excited about Chad Hansen, but I'll go him because Philadelphia just rotates their wide receivers. Like, no one plays more than like 50% of the game. Where Hansen, Cooks, they're going to be out there basically the entire game. I'm pivoting off Montgomery for Eckler. Yeah. I mean, if Eckler's going to be way lower owned, I mean, taking ownership in consideration, I might prefer Austin Eckler there. Goddard or Hooper, again, I think I'll go Goddard there. It is close. Ridley or Kelsey. Depends on what the rest of your lineup looks like. I think for safety, it's Kelsey, but I like both. Let's see, Mahomes, Montgomery, Gordon, Kelsey, Core for cash. Yes, I like that a lot. Like that a lot for cash, and then kind of get your cheapies. Yep, really do like that. Ridley or Hill, Tyreek Hill. Favorite running back under 6,500. Again, I think it's David Johnson for me. That's a tricky price range, but I think I go David Johnson. You like Gio? Gio's also, so yes, Gio is a viable punt running back too. He's 4,800. He got 25 carries last game. I don't expect that again, but if he gets like similar workload, if he's going to be out there a good amount of the game in a good matchup, he is firmly in play. I think the only uneasy feeling I have with Gio is just quarterback play there, right? Because I think they won that game, but they only threw for like, I think it was below 100 yards. Chubb, Parm, or Melvin Gordon, Logan Thomas. Melvin Gordon, Logan Thomas for me. I do like Melvin Gordon in the mid-range, yes. Russ Metcalf, yes. That'll be very low owned. Fine with that for GPPs. Panthers wide receivers are too cheap, not too much. Yeah, I think they go a little bit overlooked. Again, Samuel, I think it's the safest option. Probably for upside, you go for a guy like DJ Moore. How do you feel about Todd Gurley? Don't play him. He got benched. I don't know if he gets a carry today. Fading all Kansas City in cash, risky. Montgomery or Chubb? Montgomery for cash. Probably Chubb for GPPs because Montgomery's going to be popular. I hate the slate. It's not an amazing slate, really. Again, like I talked about in the video, there's not a lot of standout plays. So like it kind of forces me to go more of that stars and scrubs build. Crowder and cash, yeah, you can do it. Again, you're never gonna feel great about it, but playing out of the slot should play a good amount of the game. I'm fine with it. Juju might go off after everyone trash him. I don't mind buying low on Juju. All three Pittsburgh receivers are in play. Again, Deontay probably has the most upside, but does have some risk with the drops. Juju is fine out of the slot. Just want Sammy Watkins over Mooney. Yeah. I mean, Sammy Watkins is going to be lower owned. And if you want a cheap piece to that Kansas City offense, he's fine. How do I access Core? If you want access to premium, it's down below. It's on Patreon. I have a link down below. A couple different packages I offer, but basically, if you sign up for NBA, you get the rest of NFL for free. And I guess the baseline package is $1 a day. Let's see. I think he's been out since last night. Keenan. Well, it's not confirmed. It's looking like he might not play, but we don't have that confirmed yet. Hurts, Johnson, Montgomery, Cooper, Hall, T. Higgins, Thomas, Chubb, and Ramsey. I think that's fine. You are fading, the Chiefs. It's going to differentiate yourself, but you got some upside in the lineup. Opinion on Austin Eckler. Him and Dave Montgomery, it's a coin flip for me. It's looking like Montgomery's going to be more popular. So in GPPs, I think you make the argument to go to Eckler. And especially if Keenan Allen is out, it's looking like Keenan Allen's not going to play. Like, that is a bigger boost to Eckler. He is very, very much involved in the passing game. So I do like Eckler a decent amount here. Schefter said on ESPN, 30-second skit. Melvin Gordon or David Johnson? That's a tough one. I'll go Melvin Gordon. Henderson or Goddard for cash. Again, like I don't know if I play those Rams running backs in cash. For cash games, I want to get like the guys that I know are going to be out there a good amount of the game, like Eckler, like Montgomery, like David Johnson, like Melvin Gordon. That's kind of where I look for cash. So they said they won't change their mind on letting Allen play. Okay, Giovanni Bernard, yep. Gio firmly in play. Eckler, Hooper, Broncos D, fine with that. Rams or Washington defense. I'll go Washington defense just because Rams are playing Seattle. Eckler, Hooper, Broncos D, or Kelsey, Parm, Cowboys D. That's a tough one. Depends what you're playing. I think, I might go the second option with Kelsey, Parm, and Cowboys D. Obviously that's assuming Hunter Henry's out. Do not expect Hunter Henry to play. Ridley or Kelsey. So Kelsey for me, but I like both. Can I play Ridley and Gage? Yes, you can. You can run like a full game stack if you want. You can go Mahomes and either Kelsey or Hill and run it back with like Ridley and Gage. I mean, I like that upside a lot. Shepard, AJ Green, Watkins, or Mooney. I'll go Sammy Watkins there. Nets or Bengals punt defense? Nets. Wait, which defense are you talking about there? Which Chargers do you like the most if Keenan Allen's out? So if Keenan Allen's out, that's a bigger boost to Eckler at running back, who I like. And then Guyton, I think, is one of the better punt wide receivers. He's at 3.2K. You got him. You got Marvin Hall. You have Cam Sims. All in that punt wide receiver range that I like. And then Mike Williams gets a boost, but he's got the boomer bust nature. So still don't know if I go there in cash games, but that's kind of who gets the boost. Bernard or Henderson? Henderson gets the number 1 role. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Gio, I think, has less competition for touches, but I'm more comfortable in the Rams offense. So that's almost flip a coin. I don't have a super strong take there. I wish I did. But yeah, Ridley and Cam Sims or Gage and Kupp. I think the second option. I think the second option is safer with Gage and Kupp. Like, punting with any wide receiver is never a great feeling. Like playing a guy like Marvin Hall or Cam Sims or Guyton. The only reason I'm considering those guys is because I want to get to Mahomes and one of those other options. Mahomes something, Montgomery, Kelsey for DraftKings cash. Yes. DK pick combo, cash. Gordon, Tyreek, AJ Green, or Higgins, Crowder, Kelsey. I think I go with the first option. I don't really want to play AJ Green, though, but I like Gordon and Tyreek in that pairing. I'm playing Cooper as well as a double tight ends. I think that's fine. I'm actually playing two tight ends, too, for GPPs. Noah Fant or Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas for me. Okay, let's see. On Yahoo, do you like either of the running backs in the 820 game? So that's the Packers and Titans game. Packers-Titans. Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry is always in play, and Aaron Jones firmly in play as well. So I don't know what their price points are, but they're both playable. Crowder, Claypool, or Lamb? Claypool for me. Jackson, Andrews, Dobbins, run back with Slayton. It's contrarian. Again, I'm not really high on the Ravens passing attack. If I was going to play one piece in that Ravens passing attack, it would be Mark Andrews. So, I mean, it's a contrarian stack. Not saying it can't work. Eckler or Chubb. So, for cash games, it's Eckler. He's more involved in the passing game. Eckler for me. For GPPs, you can make the argument for Chubb. I think Eckler is a safer. Gordon, Montgomery, Eckler showing 28% and up. Yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, those are probably like the 3 running backs to look to in cash games. If I'm playing cash games, I think I play those 3 running backs. That being Melvin Gordon, that being Montgomery, that being Eckler. I think that's what I do in cash games. Eckler, Mahomes, Montgomery, and Kelsey. I like that. I like that a good amount. Hurts, Gibson, Henderson, Guyton, Deontay, Hardman, Ridley, Kelsey. It's risky. It's risky. You're playing Gibson. First came back from injury, might be limited. Henderson, obviously, we don't know what the workload's going to be. I think it's going to be a pretty even split. I do like Guyton, especially if Keenan Allen is out. Everything else I'm fine with. So there's some risk involved, but I think that's decent. I don't have an issue. Jets or Bengals punt defense. I'll go with the Jets just because the Browns are missing their wide receivers. But again, the defense is such a high variance position. Montgomery, Eckler, Gio, and all 3 of my lineups. I like that too. Like Gio is a punt running back that you can consider. There is some risk there. Like I probably feel a little more comfortable with Melvin Gordon, but I'm fine with that. Watkins or Hardman. Watkins if you can get to him. I don't even feel like Gorilla Divas played his lineups and made some money last week. Let's see. Frank Gore's my scariest pick, but I need salary. I don't know. I don't know if I play the Jets running backs. Hardman or Hall. I think I still go Hall there because he's like the number 1 wide receiver. Hardman snaps just fluctuate. He doesn't play a ton. He does have some big play upside in him. David Johnson or Hunt for cash. So it's David Johnson for me. And the reason being, Johnson doesn't have a ton of competition for touches. They should be playing from ahead. He's involved in the passing game. I think it's David Johnson for cash. All right, guys, 1 minute until lock. And then I will get out of here because ownership always takes a long time to load in for the main slate. So I'm not going to stay on for that. But let's see. GPP, do you like do you play the most volume possible but hopefully less owned players? Normally my approach for GPPs is I will play a decent amount of the chalk if I think it's good. And then I like to get different in a couple ways. So whether that be, play 2 tight ends. Like that's definitely a way I'm going to differentiate myself. Or, I take a shot on or just like a pivot, right? A pivot off a chalky guy to similar price. Maybe I'll do that once or twice. So that's usually my approach. If I think the chalk's good enough, I will play a decent amount of it. And then I try to get different in a couple ways. But I told you guys what I'm doing. I'm stacking Chiefs, Falcons. I'm doing Mahomes with Kelsey, bringing it back with Calvin Ridley. That's what I'm doing and kind of going value from there. All right, guys, we are at lock. Any last minute questions? I'll stay on for another 30 seconds. If not, I'll get out of here. I do want to thank you guys again for coming out to support the channel, support the live stream. Again, we close in on 300 viewers for NFL, which is pretty solid. And don't go anywhere. Again, I'll be live for NBA later today. So NBA, we got a nice slate. I'll be back in a few hours to break that one down. Thanks for all you do, DK. Don't forget to take breaks and days off so you don't burn out. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, that's something that, I probably should consider. Not going to lie, it has been, a lot of work, but I do love doing this. Last second, I just swapped Bengals D to Jets, then played T. Higgins over Hansen. Might regret this. I don't think that's a terrible swap. Goff, Chubb, Montgomery, Woods, Kupp, Hansen, Hooper, Higgins, Cowboys. I think that's interesting. You got the Goff pairing with Kupp and Woods. I went for 3 running backs for cash. Thanks, man. Yeah, again, I think for cash, I probably would have went Montgomery, Eckler, and Melvin Gordon. DK's the man. Thanks, guys. Good luck. I'll be back for NBA. Thank you so much. Super excited for the NBA slate. Yeah, really am as well. All right, guys, I'm going to get out here. Good luck. Enjoy these games, and I will see you guys later for the NBA slate.